Reading of fractions. In the previous session, we have seen how to read and represent fractions and figures for each of the equal parts when an object is divided into 8 equal parts. In this session, we will see how to read and represent fractions and figures for 2 or more parts of an object when it is divided into 8 equal parts. This knowledge will also help us to read each of the divisions on a measuring tape accurately, as every inch in our measuring tape is divided into 8 equal divisions. At the end of the session, you will be able to read and represent fractions and figures for 2 or more parts when an object is divided into 8 equal parts. In the previous session, we have learned how to read and represent 1 by 2, 1 by 3, 1 by 4, 1 by 5, 1 by 6, 1 by 7, 1 by 8 in figures. We will again take the example of the same rod. We've already seen that when the rod is divided into 2 equal parts, the fraction for each of the equal parts is written as 1 by 2. 1 by 2 is also called half. If we were to take both the equal parts together, then it is 2 out of 2 parts. So we will write the fraction as 2 by 2. As you can see, 2 by 2 is also equal to the whole rod. We can say that 2 by 2 is equal to 1. Now let's divide each of the 2 parts further into half. As you can see, we get 4 equal parts of the rod. The fraction for each of the 4 equal parts will be written as 1 by 4. 1 by 4 is also called as quarter. So we can say that half of half is equal to 1 by 4. Now if we take 2 equal parts of the rod, then it is 2 out of 4 parts. We will write the fraction for the 2 parts as 2 by 4. As you can see, 2 by 4 is also the same as 1 by 2. So we can also say that 2 by 4 is equal to 1 by 2. Now considering 3 equal parts of the rod, it is 3 out of 4 parts. The fraction will be written as 3 by 4. Considering all the 4 parts will give us the fraction as 4 by 4, which is also equal to the whole rod. Thus we can say that 4 by 4 is also equal to 1. Now if we were to divide each of the 4 equal parts further into half, we get a total of 8 equal parts. We already know that the fraction for each of the 8 equal parts will be written as 1 by 8. So we can also say that half of 1 by 4 is 1 by 8. Now if we were to consider 2 equal parts out of the 8 parts, then it is 2 out of 8 parts. We will write the fraction as 2 by 8. 2 by 8, as you can see, is also the same as 1 by 4 that we had seen earlier. So we can say that 2 by 8 is equal to 1 by 4. Now considering 3 parts out of the total of 8 parts, we will write the fraction as 3 by 8. To represent 4 parts out of 8, we will write the fraction as 4 by 8. As you can see here, 4 by 8 is also the same as 1 by 2 or half. So we can also say that 4 by 8 is equal to half. Now if we were to consider 5 parts out of 8, then the fraction for it will be represented as 5 by 8. Now if we were to take 6 equal parts, then the fraction for it will be written as 6 by 8. As you can see, 6 by 8 is also the same as 3 by 4 that we had seen earlier. So we can also say that 6 by 8 is equal to 3 by 4. Now considering 7 out of 8 parts gives us the fraction as 7 by 8. Lastly, if we were to consider all the 8 parts together, we can write the fraction as 8 by 8, which is the whole rod. So 8 by 8 is also equal to 1. In this session, we have learned how to read and represent fractions for 2 or more parts when an object is divided into 8 equal parts. Before we conclude, let's take a look at the key points. Half of half is equal to 1 by 4. 2 by 4 is equal to half. 2 by 8 is equal to 1 by 4. 4 by 8 is equal to half. 6 by 8 is equal to 3 by 4. If we were to divide an object into 8 equal parts, selecting 2 parts out of 8 will give us the fraction as 2 by 8. Selecting 3 parts will give us the fraction as 3 by 8. Selecting 4 parts out of 8 will give us the fraction as 4 by 8, and so on. With that, we have come to the end of this session.